Story by iravikuttanpillai. I need help. I don't really know how to put it correctly. It all feels very strange and I am seriously doubting my own consciousness. I am an Indian working in KSA for the last 9 years, and I haven't been able to take a vacation for the last 4 years, working continuously because of COVID and shit. When I reached India last week after a long journey, I called my friends to meet at our usual fast food joint. We were talking about so many things, and I was trying to catch up with what's happening around our locality. Then I proceed to ask them about a new football turf that I saw on the way and suggested that we should play there sometime. My friends agreed to that, but with a puzzled expression. I started to ask them about our local football club. Are they still using the orange jersey like they used to? Who are still playing in the team? Which tournament did we last play? They did answer all these questions, but at the end, they asked me why I'm talking about football. I laughed at them and said because we love football, and I, along with another one of our friend, were the only local boys used to play for the club when they participated in big tournaments. And I reminded them about how big the celebrations were for the 2010 Football World Cup that we had in our village. They looked at each other and laughed at me and said that I have gone mad. I kept telling them about some tournaments and how I was certain other players' performances and some specific instances. Their reaction was the same as before. According to them, I was never into football, and I have never even been an average player. And some of the incidents that I mentioned did really happen, but I was never part of it. Now I'm pissed and confused at the same time. I know I was a good player. I know that I played for that club, but these fuckers keep telling me that I wasn't. But there is another thing. I know I played for my college team. And there is one guy from my place who was my senior in college. He must have known about me or at least seen me playing for the college team. So, I asked my friend to call this guy and ask him about me and football. He answered the phone, and like all my other friends, he said that he has never seen me play football. But I have something else to prove my point. Photos. I have uploaded some of the college team photos when we won a tournament. I proceed to open my Facebook and scroll through the photos, scrolling down and down and down. There is no fucking photo. I clearly remember the photos with our Real Madrid jersey, but it wasn't there. We decided to end this conversation there and then left for home. I was so confused, but I didn't talk to anybody about this. The next morning, I got a call from our courier services for the package that I have sent from KSA. Now, I remembered something. I have sent my football shoe in that cargo that I used to play near my company camp with the same shoe. I received the package, took it home, opened it, and there is no football shoe in there. Now, I am seriously pissed, and I called my company people in KSA, and they said they have never seen me playing football. I called my college friends, and they have never seen me play football. I asked my family, but same. I am pretty damn sure what I think about me is real, and I know it's only been a week. But I think everybody around me has gone through some eternal sunshine shit and their mind got erased or something. Or I am in deep trouble and need help. I have a couple updates about this. Update number 1. My mother gave me a bunch of clothes which, according to her, I left it here when I went back to KSA 4 years ago. And guess what? I have no recollection of owning that bunch. It somewhat fits me given it's 4 years old, and as far as I can remember, I use ready-made shirts. All the shirts she has given me are tailor-made, which is very unlike me. Update number 2. I went to the turf with my friends, and there were a bunch of guys warming up to play. Some of them I knew before, and had a little chat and joined them, and I fucking killed the game. I was seriously doubting myself before, but not anymore. I know who I am, and I know what I am saying is true. The frustrating part is that my friends who were there with me keep saying that I must have been playing with some Saudi guys for the past 4 years, and they still don't believe me. Update number 3. Lots of people recommending me to consult a doctor made me remember one incident that happened while I was in the college team. It was a training session and I fell down while controlling the ball, and the guy next to me tried to clear the ball, but he missed it and it kicked me on my ribs. I shrugged it off and kept playing, but after the session, we were changing to leave and I felt pain in my ribs, and I called my trainer. He called an ambulance and I got admitted in the hospital, and they did some tests. I was fine, but they wanted me to be in observation for 24 hours. I remember my father and uncle being there after I informed them, and I remember my college friends being there on the next day. Let's see if anybody remembers this. Update number 4. As I expected, nobody remembered nothing. I went to the hospital to check the record, and there were no records at all. Update number 5. I met my trainer. I asked him about the incident, and even though he confirmed the incident really happened, but a couple of things I got wrong. According to him, number 1, it wasn't an ambulance but his own car. And number 2, the guy who got injured wasn't me, but some other kid, and that I was never part of the team.
Written by you/John Jackman, 1029. As I was reading the recent post by you/our-ad3977 about time advancing, it reminded me of an incident 2 years ago that I'd somehow forgot about at the time. One night I was over at my buddy's house and we were watching TV. Being bored out of our damn minds for a few hours, we decided to go out for another cigarette or two. As we got outside, we realized that the weather had cleared up. It was sometime in August, so it was warm enough to just hang out and sit outside the window and bullshit for a while. After an hour or so, I look at my watch and it's 1:03 a.m. And that's later than I thought it was, so I verify with my phone. I look at my friend and say something along the lines of, "Holy hell, it's already 1:03. Where did the time go?" We just went back to talking and smoking. And 5 or 6 cigarettes later, I look at my watch again. It reads 1 a.m. This confuses me greatly. Keep in mind, I have a quality analog clock that's incapable of adjusting to daylight savings time, which starts in March and ends in November, let alone the date where there's only 30 days a month, and it wouldn't roll back. Regardless, I think my watch has malfunctioned, so I look at my phone. It also reads 1 a.m. I tell my friend to check his phone. He pulls it out, and the look on his face was very concerning. We just sit and look at each other in utter confusion, and we were kind of freaked out, especially because we confirmed with each other that it was definitely 1:03 earlier, and that we'd been chain smoking for at least another half hour. We pondered it for a while and eventually wrote it off as one of the universe's mysteries. To this day, I cannot even begin to explain it.
Story by U/Amor Tenshando. It was a Saturday afternoon and I was watching a suspense movie with my mom. I remember it had Julianne Moore on it, and it had something to do with a guy with multiple personalities. It was a cold and foggy winter day outside, so there wasn't anybody outside in the streets or anything, and it was a very quiet day in general. There was a window by the side of the sofa that my mom was laid on, and I was in another sofa parallel to the one she was in. It was a pretty small living room, and since I was also laid down, we were both facing the TV, but I was pretty much facing the window too, and I only had to slightly turn my head to look outside. We had the neighbor's house on the other side of that window, but it was too far away for anyone from their side of the fence to reach our house. And besides, there was nobody home in their house that weekend. They had a dog and they even took the dog with them to wherever they traveled to. So the movie ended, and as the credits were rolling, we suddenly heard the window glass tremble a little, and there was a liquid squirt sound we heard. And when we looked to the window, there was a very large spot of water running through the glass. It was exactly like if someone had hit the window with a water gun. But immediately, my mom and I ran to the window, and there wasn't a soul out there. Also, from where I was sat, I could see if there was someone outside without getting up. And there wasn't. The only place where it could have come from was the neighbor's patio. But again, there wasn't anybody there. Our window was pretty high from the ground, and it was clear from the mark that the water made on the glass came from a straight angle, and not from above, not from below. It wasn't raining, and there was no one in sight. It just came out of nowhere, and there wasn't even any kind of movement outside, because it was cold and there was nobody in the street. That's pretty much it, really. It happened fast. It isn't anything too exciting. But from that day, my mom and I couldn't find a reasonable explanation to that happening. I mean, could it be a bird or something? That flew by and somehow peed on the window and managed to not collide against it. It sounds highly unlikely, and I would have seen at least a shadow of something moving outside, since I immediately looked in its direction. I honestly don't know.
Written by U/Music Hour. I posted this on my Facebook semi-joking earlier, but I do believe in stuff like this, so consider it a real possibility. I thought maybe it belonged here. Also, now I'm beginning to freak a little, because now there's a commercial that I was looking for, a controversial one, so I don't really want to disclose it and cause off-topic drama, and found it exists. Kind of, but it's completely different and was released about 11 years before it was released where I'm from. Or where I was. I don't even know if I was from there, honestly. Anyway, so I'm pretty sure I shifted realities or something, because this morning, I went to put on my glasses, and I have 2 pairs, and just wear whichever one I grab. And this morning, it was my blue frames. I don't like much because they're not as comfy. Feeling too lazy to go search for my comfy glasses, I shrugged and went on to finish getting ready for work. Fast forward to work, and I was in the bathroom, and suddenly got double vision out of nowhere. But after a second it got normal. I checked my glasses lenses, thinking maybe something was on them, and nothing that would be the cause that was there. Then I went back to my desk, and realized I saw green frames around my eyes, and not my blue ones. And that's just been on my mind all day. I also have to add, when I got home, my blue glasses were still on my bedside table, but in a different location. I'm positive I didn't change glasses before leaving my home.
Story by u/gingercakes19. This happened when my child was 5 years old. They're about to be 13 now. I was laying in bed one morning, playing on my phone, waiting for them to wake up, and about an hour into mindless scrolling, and yes, I was wide awake at that time, I heard them begin humming a cute little tune, skip to the refrigerator, open it, and pull out the lunch meat to snack on. They were stoked because I got the good stuff from the deli, so it was in the plastic bags and made a distinct sound when you opened it. They then shut the fridge, happily skipped back to the living room while humming, turned on the TV and began playing an episode of some cartoon show. I heard the dialogue in the beginning of the episode for about 30 to 45 seconds, before the sound just kinda faded out. It was silent again, and I was like, oh, they probably turned the TV down a little because it was so loud. I better get out of bed and stop being lazy. I can't leave them alone. So I get up and go into the living room and turn the corner to say, "Hi, Zoe." Except the TV was off, and they were nowhere to be found. I walked into their bedroom, and they were dead asleep. I walked in, sat on their bed and asked, "Did you just go back to sleep?" They were very confused and a little annoyed that I woke them up, and they had no clue what I was talking about, so I just let it go. I told them, "Well, you can get up and watch cartoons now if you want to." They got really excited and were like, "Okay, Mommy." I had to use the bathroom, so I went inside it and then shut the door. And that's when it happened. I heard them happily humming, skipping to the fridge. They opened it, grabbed the salami, then shut the door. They skipped back happily humming the exact same tune, turned on the TV show to the exact episode, and sat there munching on the salami for breakfast. Has anyone else had this happen? I've never had it happen since.
Written by Anonymous. So a few weeks ago I was at work. I work as a videographer for our local TV station. I was at the backside of my work building, loading gear into my car. For context, the station sits right next to a very busy highway. The only other building next to it is a large office building that's been sitting empty for a while, presumably because of COVID. Otherwise, it's just the highway and trees. It was pouring rain, and I was standing at the trunk of my car quickly, getting my gear in before it got too wet. As I was doing this, I heard what sounded like a woman talking over a loudspeaker behind me. I turned around in confusion because I was the only one out there. At first, I thought it was a loud radio coming from someone on the highway. But the voice never faded away. It stayed at the same volume, which was quite loud. I couldn't understand what the woman was saying. The voice was clear, but the words were garbled, like I couldn't make sense of them. After about a minute, I noticed another co-worker drive into the lot, and I waited for them to get out of their car and start walking towards the door. I'm hoping to see if they noticed the voice. But they didn't react to it. They walked into the building as if nothing was going on, and even waved hello to me. There's no way they couldn't have heard it. That's how loud this voice was. My final theory was that maybe the office building next door had finally had people in it again, and the voice was coming from there. I closed the trunk, hopped in my car, and rolled down the window just a bit so I could continue to listen to the voice. I drove over the border between our parking lot and theirs. But when I looked over, there wasn't anyone there. The building was still empty. At this point, I was spooked. I also had a story to get to, so I ended up just closing the window and leaving. But in hindsight, I haven't been able to figure out where this disembodied voice had come from. It wasn't from the station, because we don't have loudspeakers on the outside of the building. And it wasn't coming from somewhere nearby, at least that I could find. The part that confuses me the most is my coworker. Why didn't they hear it? Or if they did, why didn't they hear it? Or if they did, why didn't they react? I've been working at this station for over 4 years, and I've never experienced anything like this. So I'm sure it's not a normal occurrence. Has anyone else experienced something like this?
Story by u/SailorGirl06. I was walking through a plaza across the street from my house to run a few errands, and as I was walking, I noticed a shortish man in a blue t-shirt and a pair of jeans with white hair. He seemed very familiar to me, so I was trying not to stare, but I kept looking at him. He raised his head, and when he noticed me, he smiled. This man was identical to my recently deceased grandfather. My grandfather was a Lithuanian man with very distinct and beautiful features. Clear, almost transparent blue eyes, high cheekbones, and a great smile. I have never met anyone else who resembled him. And not just similar looking, but identical, carbon copy. I immediately got goosebumps. I was too weirded out to stop him. But another man was walking in my direction after passing this doppelganger of my grandfather, and he noticed that I was shook. When he asked me what was wrong, I said, I think the man who just walked by was my grandfather. He didn't understand why it was such a big deal, and I showed him a picture of my grandfather and asked if he could confirm that the man we had seen was the man who just walked past. He said that he did see him, and it was certainly him just a moment ago. I pulled up the obituary that I had saved on my phone, and he confirmed that it was definitely the person who just passed us. But when we looked behind us, no one was there. He was speechless, and I was speechless. And I'm really wondering what just happened there. Story by u/Ashley Lynn. Yesterday, my boyfriend and I were enjoying the beautiful day, and we decided to take up a walk up to the local Cumberland farms to grab some iced coffees. Nothing out of the ordinary. Well, that was until on the walk back home. I want to explain the layout of the area briefly so you can kind of understand. So, there's our street, and at the end there's a blinking light, and then a pretty big corner on the left side. And then you're on a pretty busy main road where the Cumberland farms are on. As we were walking back down the main road and rounding the corner to get onto our street, a white Mercedes car came flying behind us around that corner. I get it. The person was probably looking at a car ahead and etc. It is kind of a blind corner, and cars do come around it fairly fast. But what's crazy is that we didn't even hear it. Something inside me just said to turn around, and as I did, the person, who was a black woman with dark hair and a red shirt on, was swerving to avoid us. My boyfriend and I saw the car, and we both saw the woman that was driving it. It was almost as if time had slowed down for us that brief moment. I said, "Holy shit, that car almost hit us." His reply was, "That white Benz?" We brushed it off, kept walking and talking, and didn't really think much of it. We were about 800 yards from our house when a woman, with dark hair and a red shirt on, was bringing in her garbage cans. You can tell she was most likely just getting back from work, still had her work badge on, and this was around 6 p.m. We live in a pretty small, friendly little community. The side her house is on is directly on the lake. We say hello, and she says, "I am so sorry. I didn't mean to scare you guys back there. I didn't even see you." We said that it was okay and that it's definitely a blind area, and we all laughed it off, and my boyfriend and I kept walking towards our home. Now, this is the weird part. The houses that are on the lakeside have literally the smallest driveways, basically non-existent, and pretty much no lawn either, so no garage, nowhere for a car to be pulled around or nothing. This particular home, the woman's home with a red shirt, honestly gives off more of a summer cabin kind of home, if that makes any sense at all. Anyways, there were 2 cars in a little parking lot area of her home. A bright red, and I mean apple red, and an ugly green, more on the dark side. Both are colors that you don't really see. I'm not sure of the exact type of car they were, but they were both the same besides the color. Ugly cars, I want to add. Definitely nowhere near what a Benz looked like. Not even close. More like what a Prius looks like. My boyfriend was the one that made the comment and said, "I thought it was a white Mercedes that almost hit us." I was so dumbfounded. I kept looking back trying to justify what the fuck just happened. It was 1,000% the same woman, but a totally different car? I mean, these cars' body shape were so beyond different that there's no way we could have possibly mixed it up, not to mention the color. A bright apple red and a Mercedes white. I woke up this morning still trying to rationalize this mix-up, and no matter how logical I try to be, I just can't. Hello everyone, it's your creepy sister here. Thank you so much for watching the video. I really appreciate each and every one of you. But I would also like to thank my amazing patrons, my top tippers, and my dearest channel members. Thank you very, very much. I really appreciate it with all of my heart. If you want to support the channel further, you could also choose to become a patron, a tipper, or a channel member. But remember, it's appreciated, but never a requirement. I would also like to announce that we have merch now. The link is in the description of the video, along with all my other social media links, like my Discord server, Twitter, Instagram, and others. You can connect with me and send your stories there. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't yet, and comments are highly appreciated. And remember, your fear feeds me.